Welcome to worship this morning at Middleton Community United Church of Christ, where we say that no matter who you are and where you are in life's journey, you are welcome here.
We have two readings this morning. The first is from Romans chapter 8, verses 18 through 25. That can be found in the blue Bibles in front of you in the New Testament on page 164. I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. For the creation was subjected to frustration, not by its own choice, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into the freedom and glory of the children of God. We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. Not only so, but we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for our adoption to sonship, the redemption of our bodies. For in this hope we were saved. But hope that is seen is no hope at all. Who hopes for what they already have? But if we hope for what we do not yet have, we wait for it patiently. Our second reading comes from the book of Job, chapter 9, verses 7 through 9. That can be found in the Old Testament on page 508. But ask the animals, and they will teach you. The birds of the air, and they will tell you. Ask the plants of the earth, and they will teach you, and the fish of the sea will declare to you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? May we all be blessed in our hearts and our minds with understanding.
The following excerpt is from John O'Donohue's poem, For One Who is Exhausted. You have traveled too far over false ground. Now your soul has come to take you back. Take refuge in your senses. Open up to the small miracles you rushed through. Become inclined to watch the way of rain when it falls slow and free. Imitate the habit of twilight, taking time to open the well of color that fostered the brightness of day. Draw alongside the silence of stone until its calmness can claim you. We gather this morning after the 53rd observance of Earth Day yesterday, a day set aside for environmental action, a day to recommit ourselves to the work of tending creation, caring for, preserving, and renewing the world that isn't just around us, but of which we are a part. And next Saturday, as a congregation, we'll reiterate that that work cannot be contained to a single day, right? Every day must be Earth Day because every day our planet groans for healing. And I am by no means the best person in this room to talk to you about our response to climate change. We have expert environmentalists in the room. We have scientists and politicians. We have change makers and decision holders. So our green team has assembled many of the greatest minds in our community to share what they're doing to respond to the climate crisis we find ourselves in, to offer hope and inspiration in the days ahead. So consider this your plug for the EV and sustainability show that'll be held next Saturday right here. It was an amazing event last year and will be even more amazing this year. So today I don't want to talk about the things that must be done, because there are many, many things that must be done. Instead, I want to address all the things that we must be. And really, that is always only one thing: beloved. Our call from Scripture, our call from tradition, our call from creation today is a call to remembering ourselves as a part of God's beloved creation. In 2008, we as a species hit kind of a strange milestone. More people lived in urban areas outside the U.S. More people now live in urban areas than outside of them. In the U.S., urban areas grew faster in 2010 and 11 than suburban areas, and for the first time since the 1920s. So this means that the vast majority of humanity lives in urban areas, lives what sometimes we consider separated from the natural world. I don't need to tell you that we as a people, as a society, as a species have become increasingly disconnected from the nature of which we are part. So much so that we have forgotten we are a part of it. Instead, we often talk about setting aside time to visit nature, right? We plan our vacations around it, our afternoons off. Out there beyond our screens, our homes, our streets, we seek out pockets of woods in the city and parks preserved for recreation, recreation, if you will. I've always felt this calling to the woods. I think I've talked with many of you about it. I've always felt safest among a blanket of tall trees. And when my life had more room for it, I'd usually spend at least one day a week walking, climbing, or sitting among some trail in a state park within driving distance of my home. And even when I didn't have time for travel, our home in Platteville just happened to be across the street from a 25-acre park that included wooded trails in it. Some of you here have that opportunity. This call to the woods and a desire to remember nature led me to participate this year in a 16-week forest therapy guide certification program. And I've already shared this with some of you. I just graduated on Tuesday. Thank you very much. We wore leaves as hats, as graduation hats. The forest therapy school that I attended trains guides in the practice of Shinrin-yoku, which is a Japanese phrase meaning literally bathing in the forest atmosphere, or as you may have heard it referred to in English, forest bathing. Now, this isn't necessarily a spiritual practice, and it's simultaneously new and quite ancient. Shinrin-yoku was formalized only in the 1980s in Japan, and it was a direct response to this idea that so many of us have moved into urban environments. It was a direct response to the rise of white-collar office work, practitioners recognizing the disconnect happening as the labor force moved from fields and forest and entered apartments and cubicles. Lucky for us and for the rest of the world, the Japanese government invested significant research funds into the study and promotion of Shinrin-yoku, and the results have been astonishingly clear, though not that surprising. Spending intentional time in nature has a substantially positive influence over our emotional, physical, and I would argue spiritual well-being. Hear this poem, The Peace of the Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When I despair, for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting for their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world, and I am free. The rise of the climate crisis and impending doom that haunts us around every corner, across every headline, and becomes more real with every storm, every drought, every fire, can be overwhelming. And there is no doubt that it is our time to respond now. The time to respond was yesterday. Our generation, our leaders, our churches will be judged in the future by what they chose to do today. The call for change is urgent. And yet, when Jesus was faced with urgency, with matters of life and death, he too was known to return to the earth, most notably when he faced crucifixion, retreating to the garden for prayer, returning physically and spiritually to his beginning. Perhaps the most powerful lesson that I took away from my training the last couple months as a forest therapy guide is the reminder that nature is not a place that we go to. Everything is nature. Beneath the floor upon which I stand is dirt. Nature. The timber that built these walls is nature. Unfortunately, even the plastic used to form this pulpit, nature. Nature that has been bent and broken and shaped and manipulated. And by looking at it, by recognizing it, I am both grounded and convicted. Alan Watts reminds us that we do not come into this world, we come out of it. As leaves from a tree, the ocean waves, the universe peoples. Every individual is an expression of the whole realm of nature, a unique action of the total universe. And Thich Nhat Hanh writes that we need to change our way of thinking and seeing things. We need to realize that the earth is not our environment. Look around you. What you see is not your environment, it is you. When you realize that earth is so much more than simply our environment, we might be moved to protect her in the same way we might protect ourselves. This is the kind of awareness, the kind of awakening that we need, and the future of the planet depends on whether we are able to cultivate this insight or not. This cultivation is a deep spiritual practice of developing a deeper relationship with the earth. And in that practice, we'll find that we have enough love, strength, and awakening in order to change our ways of life. There's a revolution that needs happening, and it starts from inside each of us. We must wake up and fall in love with the earth. Thich Nhat Hanh concludes that cherishing our precious earth, falling in love with the earth, is not an obligation. It's a matter of personal and collective happiness and survival. But I would argue that as followers of Jesus, it is indeed an obligation. There are few things that I would be inclined to call an obligation of our faith, but loving our neighbors is the bare minimum, and that includes loving this planet. I want to conclude by inviting you once again to take a deep breath in, knowing that the air you breathe, the air that sustains you and I, is nature, is earth, is this world. And to remember today what has always been true. You are creation. Those you love are creation. And creation is calling out to be remembered. Hear this poem, Connections, by Nancy Wood. Every time we take a breath, we become the universe. Every moment of creation is contained in us and passes on to rocks and trees, animals and fish. The old ones say the essence of life is in water and wind, earth and breath, fire and bone, but most of all in breath. Our first connection to the elk, the hawk, the bear, and the buffalo. Without breath, no connection. Without connection, no creation. Without creation, no breath. This is the sacred circle of life, unbroken. Amen. We have a few announcements for the life and ministry of the church. First, another reminder that our EV and sustainability show is happening next week, rain or shine. If it's raining, we'll be moved inside, and it's really going to be great. There's a lot of great folks coming, and live music and an electric fire truck. So we hope that you will stop by and be inspired by the amazing work that's happening around us. Next Sunday evening, we will have a new member potluck at 5 p.m. here in Fellowship Hall. If you are interested in becoming a member at Middleton Community Church, you are welcome to join us. We already have a great group coming. Let me know if you're going to come so that we can plan ahead and be sure we have everything that we need. But again, that welcome is open to anyone who wishes to come. And then Neighbor Day is coming up. So you might not have heard of Neighbor Day yet, but some of us have been talking about it for a while. Neighbor Day will be August 27th, later this summer, and that's a Sunday. And on that Sunday, we actually will not have worship here in the sanctuary. And as a congregation, we'll be joining with several neighborhood partners to do service out in the community together that morning for a couple hours, and then come back together to join, to eat and to be together, to get to know the neighbors that have grown up around us that we have not had the chance to do. So we have lots of partners doing that. There is a planning meeting this week. That's why I'm announcing it today. You should save the date. But we're having a planning meeting on the 25th. That's this Tuesday at 7 p.m. If you're interested in becoming a part of that planning team, we would love to have you. This isn't just an MCC event. Forward Garden is participating, and the school, and lots of the neighborhood associations. It's really going to be a great day. So if you want to join that planning, we'd encourage you to come. And then again, we're kind of all over the place here. Next Sunday, we will have a congregational meeting after worship next week to hear from the developers, the Bradford Group, who are in the process of buying and building that way, a new child care center. And the developers will be here on site to give us an update on that property. And we might have some decisions to make as a congregation regarding the land deeds that we hold on that, the usage deeds that we hold on that property. So I'd encourage you to be here. And then we have Matt here. He's coming up. Speaking of our partners for Neighbor Day, the folks over at Madison Area Food Pantry Gardens and Forward Garden are part of that. And Matt, who is their farm manager, is here today to talk to us about some of the volunteer opportunities that we met. Come use this one right here. We can push it up tall enough for you.
Good morning, everyone. So as Pastor Zayna mentioned, my name is Matt. I'm one of the neighbors. I've been working across the street at the Forward Garden for the past 3 years. And my goals here this morning are pretty simple. First is to thank the congregation for being such an impactful partner these past 3 years. There's been a lot of ways you've all been involved, from shelling corn right out here to helping to plant and grow produce for donation to local food pantries, to helping plan annual events that take place at the farm as well, and many, many others that I'm sure I'm not mentioning. And my next goal is to invite you all, just extend an open invitation for you guys to join me at Forward Garden to spend some intentional time in nature this season. We are at the start of our planting season. Our first window of opportunity to get some plants in the ground is this week. So we'll be out there, I'll be out there every day planting something. And our open volunteer sessions begin on Wednesday morning and will continue throughout the month of October. Every Tuesday, Thursday afternoons, 4:30 to 6:30, and Wednesday mornings, 9 to 11. Reverse. The organization I work for is the Madison Area Food Pantry Gardens. The property across the street, Forward Garden, is at the Pope Farm Homestead, top of the hill there with a white barn. We've been on that site for 3 years. We're starting our 4th growing season. It's one of 10 gardens that we manage in the Madison area, and everything we're able to grow gets donated to local food pantries. So your time spent with me in the garden would be benefiting our community as a whole. We're able to donate to about 25 outlets annually from that particular garden site across the street. And the great news that I'd like to share, if you haven't already heard, is that we purchased the land 3 weeks ago. So,
hey.
yeah. So we've been growing mixed annual vegetables for 3 years now, and we're going to be able to, in the near future, expand those offerings to perennial crops and orchard crops such as apples and cherries and grapes and maybe blueberries and more strawberries, which will make the kids that visit the site very happy. So again, I welcome you guys to join us. We're going to try to choose some Saturdays throughout this season that families and anybody of any age and ability is welcome to join us during those open sessions during the week, but sometimes I know you guys get busy. So we try to carve out some Saturday morning opportunities as well. So more on that will be coming soon. And if you have additional questions for me, I'm happy to stay after the service out there, and I have some materials to share with you if you're interested. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let us, and a continued thank you to everyone who supports the work of MCC financially. You can give offerings today on your way out the door. There are offering plates on either side of the door, or by going to our website, middletonucc.org, and finding the yellow donate button.
who trust in God. They will be like a tree planted by the water, planted by the water, and sending out its roots by the stream. Blessed are those who trust in God. They will be like a tree planted by the water, planted by the water, and sending out its roots by the stream. They will not fear when the heat comes, and their leaves will all stay green. In the year of the longest drought, they will still bear their fruit there by the stream, by the stream. Blessed are those who trust in God. They will be like a tree planted by the water, planted by the water, and sending out its roots by the stream.